Alright, ladies and gentlemen, fellow cultivators, I'm not gonna dilly-dally, I'm gonna jump straight into what I couldn't last video because the servers kept going down. That was really not ideal. I couldn't even get back in the game for a few hours, but it is what it is, so I'm just gonna jump straight back into where I was in servants. So, now in Relic, right, this interface itself, you see at the bottom there's total bonuses to your character here. Now, these are obtained by, and again, it'll follow the P, D, I, and S classification: Primordial, Deification, Eastern Immortal, Skyshine, and this will correspond to the kind of servant that you have. So, in the relic attributes of any one of these, you'll see Might Talent, Command Talent, Intellect Talent, Insight Talent. Now, that is your total amount of talents for all of your servants combined. And the total amount of might, command, intellect, and insight is above the insight talent, and it will be the combined of every single servant that you have. And you'll see on the right side, you'll get attack, defense, health, and evasion from these stats. But unfortunately, I've only got one primordial servant, and that's unfortunate. But in relic skill, you'll see you can get extra health, extra attack, extra accuracy, and damage enhancement. Now you're going to want to get 3 primordial servants in order to upgrade this first one. I only have one, unfortunately. Primordial servants level, you're going to need basically 4 max level primordial servants prior to foundation. And then for attributes reached is going to be those items I showed you in the last video that increase the stats of your servants themselves. The more you have of a particular class, like for example Skyshine, I have much higher skills here, and I actually have unlocked the first one in Skyshine as well as the first one down the bottom in Prestige. Now I'm just going to go back to Primordial Sword because it's the simplest one to explain. But servants attributes reached, again, all of your attributes on your servants added up. Primordial servants prestige reach is the total amount of prestige that each servant has. So I'll go into my one and only primordial, the Fire God. Click this little exclamation mark besides attributes, and you'll see the prestige just under total attributes. That is where that number is based off. Again, it will be the total amount of all of your prestige put into these extra stat, basically, allocations. Now, again, you're going to want to get as many servants as you can. You have to. It's the best way. Fastest, well, not fastest if you can't get servants fast from down in Fate, but it is the best way to get stats and the best form of stat increase that you can get because it's percentages. As I said in the last video, once you start getting into percentages, your stats just exponentially just explode. But that is basically relics in a nutshell. I mean, drop me a comment if you need further explanation. It seems more complicated than it really is, but I do see a lot of people asking me, why are your stats like decently high? And this is the reason, pretty much. I have gone through everything and tried to understand everything as I go, and that's why I've honestly made these videos in and of itself. But now we will go into the servants themselves. I'm going into Miss Yang because she is riding a beast. Now, I recently got a 2-star. As I said in the other one, I wasn't feeding this one because I was going to get a new Immortal Beast. But what you can do when you have 2 Immortal Beasts is you can ride the best one yourself for a massive amount of extra stats, and you can also give one to your servants to ride in order to increase their might, command, intellect, and insight. And that is really ideally what you want to do. You don't want to leave your beasts sitting doing nothing. You want them to do something with your servants. And obviously this is the details. Now in upgrade, you'll see this all talents of servants while mounted +1. That's my current rank for it. That is absolutely amazing because it literally increases every single one of her talents by 1, as you can see by the plus number underneath might, intellect, command, and insight. Now, obviously, Immortal Beast is pretty hard to get. I will try and get to that in this video, but the main takeaway here is that your relic is incredibly important once you're in Ascension or Heaven. You're going to need to work on it every day. You need to upgrade your servants as much as you can. Get as many as you can to Foundation and just constantly grind, basically, to get XP for your servants. Now, there is a small thing I'd like to touch on. When you first hit half immortal, your actual in adventure down on Earth, your fortune land completely changes, and you no longer you no longer get cultivation base. You start getting servant XP and those pills that increase the growth points. I believe I have some here, yes. Mini true pills, basically, and they'll add growth points to anyone that you choose. Now, again, if you first ascend, you will probably not have many servants, and that is perfectly normal. You can just pump one servant in order to try and get as much as you can out of it, because the reason you want to pump one servant at least is because into the next tab here, Ruins. Now, I'm going to try and get as much in to this video as I can because might as well. Now, Ruins, you see all these people here from poor area, lower area, normal area, core area. This is basically likened, if I had to compare it to a cultivation novel, it's basically a treasure ground that various sects and loose cultivators fight over for resources. So we'll start an exchange. That top one is where I got this fella. He was 1.2 million, but I saved up for a very long time to get that, multiple weeks. But he is a gold servant, so it was really a sacrifice, because 1.2 million to begin with when you first ascend can be really useful for getting all of these true majesty pills, heaps of intellect growth, lots of extra stats for your servants, and that can honestly help you immensely, like in the long run. I chose to get the servant because I was like, bugger it, I've committed to it, I'm just going to see how it is. And the servant is good, don't get me wrong, but 1.2 million may have been better spent on growth stuff for other servants like Tai-Bai, who was only 50,000 alliance points. But again, that's really personal choice. All of these are great rewards in and of themselves. Now, this is where one of the ways you can get your level 150 pills to upgrade to gold core. But you can also transform 3 yin, yang, and heaven pills into a level 2 version of it. But you're obviously going to have those level 1. So you should have a decent stockpile of these level 1 pills by the time you come up here. But you're really not going to use them all for a long time. Like, I've only got 5 Foundation servants, and I'm nowhere near getting a gold core, but I guess that's the free-to-play life for you. Now, search, this looks confusing. It kind of is. All you really need to do is click auto search, and it will take you to an area that has a spot free, basically. Now, I'm not going to do this because there's not much point. But you want to take over one of these areas, and in the top right, you'll see crystals and then how much you get per minute. Now, you can last up to... so when you're in one, I'm just going to... I've already taken one anyway, but I'm just going to take this one just because I only just win because there's 50,000 there. This is just a robot that defends against it if it says free. All these others are people. They are generally relatively strong. Like, this is a lower area, 164k, yeah, pretty strong. I'm going to try and take this, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, just one. But yeah, you will get that amount of crystals per minute. And in view, you can see how long you'll last there for. Now, unfortunately, when you first ascend, you're going to get bullied in Ruins, because just because it says 3 hours there, someone can come through in 10 seconds time and be like, lol, Rob. And they will knock you out of that area and take over the spot you were in, and you will have to go back into Ruins and research and re-find somewhere to farm crystals for. And that is part of why getting those crystals is so hard. 1.2 million, generally speaking, you're going to get between 19 and 23k every 3 hours if it, finishes without getting robbed. But it is something that you're going to have to seriously keep on top of if you want to get the best rewards, because these are absolutely stellar rewards for servants. Brilliant. These heaven patching stones, I'll get into why they're useful. I will just grab 5 because they are good. Now, view is again how you find your servant areas, I suppose. Whichever area you're occupying is going to come up here. You can unlock another spot, but I mean, you need a lot of servants for that. And not only do you need a lot of servants for that, you're also going to cost you 98 spirit jade, and that's really not ideal. If you've just ascended, you're not going to have the servants to even hold 2 spots anyway. My strongest servants barely hit 400k total, and I still wouldn't consider even unlocking the second one, nor would I consider spending 5 spirit jade at the bottom of this interface to increase an hour for ruin exploration time, because at any moment I could just get robbed. But again, that's personal thoughts. If your servants are like 1 million, you can afford to do that if you've got the spirit jade. But yeah, personal choice there. Now, rival is people who've robbed you, and you can get your revenge on them, and they will, when they rob you, take 10% of everything you've gathered so far, which is, I mean, it's not the worst, but it's annoying being robbed, kicked out of the spot, then having to come back into ruins and re-find a position. And it can be a case of constantly getting kicked out until you find one that no one touches for a while. Can be annoying, but you do really have to keep on top of it if you want the best rewards possible. But yeah. Now, moving on from there into Heaven Palace at the top here, just under Mail. Now, this is a relatively sort of confused. It's mostly PvP, really, but South Heaven Gate. Now, I'll start at the bottom, work my way up. Now, each of these 4 people, basically the 4 strongest, if you want to say that. And what you can do every day, this is basically a free source of spirit stones, because you will get 500 per person, and then you can choose to challenge them. But I don't recommend it. I'll show you what happens to me. I'm gonna get 1 hit deleted, but oh my, yeah, deleted. 8 million hit almost. Ooh, that was scary. Anyway, that's pretty straightforward. You just worship there, then you can leave that interface. That's just a free 2k every day. I mean, it's worth it if you want the extra. Deification Tower, you can only fight in Monday to Wednesday, 10 to 22 server time, so 2 hours before takeover. Now, you have to rank in here. You need to fight in here. You have to set your teams. All your servants will be set out, and you will fight an enemy that has teams as well, basically. So you fight 3 times, or 3 different fights, and you set out your servants to try and get the best sort of formation possible. But obviously there are pay to win people in there, and they will smack you around. But if you rank here, unfortunately it's over at the moment. The top 200 are able to attend the Shrine Wars. So the Shrine War is in the Cloud Hole, just above it, and you need to rank in the top 200 of the deification battle between Monday and Wednesday in order to participate in here. But the competition is pretty intense, if you can see by all the glowing people, with some crazy effects going on. We got golden immortals here. You terrifying. But once the challenge begins up there in 11 hours 39 minutes, I'll be able to challenge one of them, in which I will promptly lose. But the top 200 get to challenge for a position seating here. Now, the rewards here, pretty nice. Like, you are, if you can, you want to fight in this. Because the rewards, oh my goodness, look at it. It's amazing. Now, in the top 1, War of the Gods is seasons, basically. It's a season of PvP, cross-server, and you will have to fight. I believe you get 10 times a day, and I'm not sure how many servers this encompasses, but it seems to be about 5. But you have missions down in the bottom right. They are cumulative missions, so every day you can come back and complete them, and they'll refresh every day, or if you haven't completed them yet, they'll just stay there for you to complete later. Now, obviously, ranking in it's pretty simple. You fight, you lose, or you win, and you get victory points, or you lose victory points if you lose. Now, this shop is absolutely amazing, but getting these coins is relatively slow because from basically this premium spirit pack up, all of that is profound immortal realm, and I'm not even there yet. But I basically just get the ones below here because down here you have your heaven pills, which I said in the last video is what really helps you upgrade your stats of your spirit beasts, immortal beasts, I should say. And the heaven crystal is for advanced spirit beast. The soul clearing herb is to increase the random allocated stats of the spirit beast in upgrade. I keep saying spirit beast, I should say immortal beast. Damn novels every time. The food is to add XP to it, level it up. Quite simple. Now, intimacy, I haven't quite gone into yet for immortal beasts, but we'll get there. Now, obviously, these 4 pills here, True Majesty, True Spell, True Tao, True Fortune, they're basically targeted growth pills. The heaven pills, these ones, Pillar 4 Heavens will be a random 100 points, whereas these are a targeted 100 points. So if you really want to boost the stats of a gold character that specializes in insight, you just buy a ton of them when you can, and all of a sudden the insight on your character shoots up. Now, God tokens, I don't know where you get God tokens. It seems to be like you need to rank really high in it in order to do that. So obviously I can't do that, unfortunately. The free-to-play life is real. But the reward, obviously, come down here, basically rewards a profound immortal sort of level. So it's a bit oof. But yeah, overall quite simple. 30 days. You fight every day if you find the time to do it. You get the rewards, you go to the shop, you maybe buy some stuff for your servants, maybe buy some stuff for your immortal beasts. I personally would recommend doing it because your immortal beast is going to be one of the ways that you get a lot of stats when you first ascend early. But again, personal choice if you have your eye on something else in that shop. Now down at the bottom right in build, this is where I bought for 10,000 crystals each down in ruins. You get to donate 10 times a day. It's sort of similar to the market in Heaven Sect. You'll get random rewards. Sometimes it's terrible, like that was 1,000 food, 10,000 XP for servants, 50 merits for some food, and some food. Yeah, that's depressing. But sometimes you will get books to read, which obviously, as we all know, enlightenment XP and massive cultivation boost. Always nice. Worth getting, but depends what you're saving for when you're down in ruins. So when I was getting the servant for 1.2 million, I wasn't buying anything else for literally 2 weeks, and in hindsight, probably did slow me down quite a bit in terms of servant growth, and that's, yeah, I mean, mistakes were made, but here I am, hoping no one else makes the same mistakes, I guess. Like, you can consider it worth it, but is it worth it if you're free to play and you have to spend weeks just to get one servant? It depends how much you enjoy the game, really. Now, I reckon I can fit Rome in here, to be honest. I reckon I can fit it in. So, Rome is relatively simple in and of itself. You go into your first one, your cloud realm. I'm just going to go into the one I'm at, simply for ease of explanation. Now, this is a bit different to Soul Wandering, but it's basically the ascended version of Soul Wandering, but it is much harder, and it is incredibly resource intensive, but it's also where you're going to get faith and deterrence. Now, faith and deterrence, depending on how you solve the issue. So you'll be presented with between 1 and 3 options on solving each one of these little houses and rocks and, villages. In this one, I have to use 80k wood or 45k iron. Now, one of those is deterrence, one of those is faith. When you do all 12 of these, now there's 12 in each roam, basically. When you do all 12, you will have to fight a boss. That boss will be very, very, very tough when you first ascend, and if you've just completed your roam 1, very tough. But again, it is really resource intensive, but after you could kill the boss, and you will complete the roam, and your deterrence and faith level will be recorded on that roam. So back out into soul wandering here, which is basically the same concept as adventure and soul wandering. But in Cloud Realm, for example, which is where you're going to be, you'll have an enshrine type. Now, depending on your faith or deterrence, you'll get more malevolent jade or benevolent jade every 15 minutes when this soul wandering completes. And I, in the first one, made the mistake in Cloud 1 because you won't complete Cloud 2 on average because it's so much harder than the first one. And I made the mistake of having, like, I think it was 100 deterrence and 20 faith. So I ended up with a crap load of malevolent jade and very little benevolent jade, which destroyed my growth in Heaven Sect for the array. And that was very depressing because they are also percentage stat increases. So I had about a week and a half of just being only able to use malevolent jade to level up one half of the array. And in hindsight, I wish I had just done 60 deterrence and 60 faith in order to get a balanced amount of benevolent and malevolent jade. But again, hindsight, it'd be like that. Hopefully none of you make that same mistake because it's bloody annoying, seeing it in front of you and not being able to do anything about it, because this is pretty much your only source of malevolent and benevolent jade, excluding like some fishing when you occasionally get the fish that'll give you either, malevolent, benevolent, or maybe sometimes merit. But the next level of fishing is also one of those things, the 4,000 spirit stone one, which is a bit more expensive, but the fish are better, Personal choice, again. Now, Spirit Pact. Oh, actually, no, I'll quickly touch on this peddler, top right. This is where I want you, if you're inclined that way, I want you to spend your merits here. Do you see how at the top left it says 450 Spirit Jade for that book? Now, I bought that book for 45,000 merits. That is what I was saving for about 2 videos ago, and it was nearly 4,000 perception when I first got it and I used it. And this has really been where I have been buying perception books, and it's the only reason that my perception is over 10,000 at this point, which in the grand scheme of things, I'm sure compared to most people, that's like nothing. But for me, 45k merits is very much worth it to get a proper perception book. That is level 7, I think it was. But yeah, that I highly recommend that if you don't spend your merits on other things. But obviously there's a lot of things to spend your merits on, especially other skills that cost between, like 10 and 14k when you first ascend. But, it comes down to, for me personally, long-term cultivating. So I want as much perception as I can get so I can increase the efficiency at which I cultivate at, I guess. But yeah, that's food for thought. There's also other pills here. 1 pill for 5k merit, not really worth it, but those are very high level pills. And then of course in the peddler has a buttload of spirit jade skills, which is a big no from me. But you've also got level 6 skills here, but considering the cost of them, 10k, I wouldn't consider that worth it really. But that is the reason I saved up for these heavenly books, because they cost so much spirit jade that I was just like, yeah, hell yeah. If I can get these with merit, I'm going to do it, because you can get, like, at 30 disciples, I'm probably getting between 9 and 14k merits a day. Sometimes if I'm lucky in Alliance, I get more, but because I trade in 2k Alliance coins for 1k merit. But again, that's personal choice because I like them merits, But yeah, that's the basics of Rome here. Now I'm going to go into Spirit Pact. Spirit Pact is simple in and of itself. Every half an hour, it will give you an extra 1. Every time you go up a realm, the amount of things you can summon at a time will increase as well. In this little 1 of 14, when I first came up here, it was 1 out of 4 or 5, maybe 6. But now, at the point I'm at Half Immortal 3, I can do it 14 times, so it'll stack up 14 times. Now, the top one, Create Spirit Pact, is based on the total amount of intellect of all of your servants. Now, ideally, you want your Spirit Pact to be as close to your summoned spirit troops as possible, because if your Spirit Pact is, say, 40k, but your intellect is 40k overall, but your command is like 65k overall, then it's going to be inefficient in creating spirit troops to fight for you. And that is really, you really need as many as you can get, as fast as you can get. You know, I only do this, get spirit troops and Spirit Pact maybe twice a day, because it takes about 6 hours to go from 1 to 14-ish, 7 hours maybe. But yeah, that's relatively simple explanation there. But you do want to do that as much as you can, really. You need all the people that you can get. Now, hell. How long have we got? How long are we... Oh, Jesus, no. Alright, well, I'm going to have to leave it, I think. Oh, bugger. I will head into Hell, Demon Tower, and Outer World in the next video, ladies and gentlemen. Comment, subscribe, leave a like, you know what I'm saying? Enjoy your day.